Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Elliot Grigg. If you are enjoying this video and the rest of our content, please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. In this video, we are going to be discussing what is next for Daniel Dubois after his emphatic victory against Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium on the 21st of September, which resulted in a knockout in the fifth round. Elliot, I was lucky enough to be watching that fight with you. Feels like a very, very, very long time ago now. It sounds like it is unlikely that rematch is going to happen on February 22nd. We're being told that's due to kind of Joshua having a couple of niggles. But yeah, we are told that is unlikely at the moment. What's your reaction? What's your reaction to that in terms of, do you want to see a rematch? Do you have any thoughts on the rematch? Can I just get your reaction to that first, please?
My reaction is, I would like to see a rematch. Don't get me wrong. I think that there'd definitely be an intrigue there. I think it's good business. I think Joshua's got a couple of niggles in his chin, most likely. And they're thinking, well, I think it's good business for Matchroom, to be honest. I think if Joshua goes in against Dubois and gets knocked out again, I think that almost the door is closed for him then. And I think you also see a lot of that kind of casual, wrongly, in my opinion, but you see a lot of that kind of casual market just kind of rubbishing his kind of legacy as well and thinking, oh, maybe he wasn't what we thought, which he also wasn't what we thought. He's been obviously very well marketed. But I think it was close against Dubois, though, man. It was close. If he lands on Dubois, you could get him out of there. So again, for me, it's still a very close fight. It's got a lot of intrigue and have a lot of pressure, but it's very, very risky. I think the smart move would be to not fight him and to see what happens, Fury versus Usyk. And if Fury wins that, bigger fight, probably more money, but equally, a different opponent. Maybe less chance of getting it as concussively stopped early. We don't know how much Fury's got left either. So maybe there's more kind of. It's still a big ask. I've always been Fury on that fight. To be honest, it's still a massive ask, but I feel like it actually maybe carries a bit less risk at this stage, possibly than fighting Daniel Dubois, who's obviously hungry and has absolute lead in that fist, as Joshua's already found out.
Yeah, I think also, I personally think Joshua could win a rematch because he just fought the wrong fight in the first fight. However, I just think a main reason for doing the rematch would just be because of pride. It wouldn't be because of a title or for money. And I just think there are bigger fights for Joshua out there. Anyway, back to Daniel Dubois, the IBF World Heavyweight Champion. If he doesn't fight Joshua next, we're gonna find out who it's going to be. Um, it's really interesting to see some of the names that have been thrown about on social media the past couple of days, Elliot. First one, FABIO WARDLEY, British heavyweight champion, stunning first round stoppage over Fraser Clark last time out. What are your thoughts on that fight potentially happening?
You know what? I'm stunned. I'm stunned at that. Not because I've got anything against Fabio Wardley. Just for me, it just seems quite premature. I mean, let's not get it wrong. Like, very good victory over Fraser Clark. But before that, you're fighting David Adelaide. You're fighting Nate Gorman only a couple of fights before that. So to step in there against Daniel Dubois at this stage seems a bit premature. But equally, it's a hell of a fight because you know that Fabio bring it though. That's what I think. That's what the intrigue is for me. I think Fabio will go out on his shield, and I do think if he hits Daniel Dubois, if he catches Daniel Dubois, he could potentially stop him as well. I don't necessarily, to be honest with you, think that he would. I'd back Dubois fairly convincingly, to be honest, in that fight. I'd have him fairly comfortable favourite, but it would be a bit of a firefight. But I'm just surprised, to be honest. They've not gone for someone a little bit more high profile. But then if they go with Daniel Dubois, voluntary, I think this is a fight that he can win. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it kind of makes sense. There's a bit of British intrigue and it might age well. Like Usyk fought Dubois, it might age well in like 3 or 4 years. You might go, Christ, look at that victory in Fabio Wardley. He's now flying in the heavyweight division. So for me, it could be quite a clever one. So I wouldn't be against it, and I think it'd be very entertaining. But I'm more surprised that they've said look at Wardley over some of the other names. But then if it's a voluntary, you don't want to maybe fight some of those other names. So yeah, it makes sense, business sense. I think Daniel Dubois as well.
Yeah, look, I can see it happening. I think Fabio Wardley is also a Queensberry fighter. He's fought on Riyadh season cards. He's turning into a pretty big name in British boxing. He's an exciting fighter. He's not. I don't think Fabio Wardley's going to say no to fighting Daniel Dubois. He's not going to fight for a world title for a lot of money. He's not going to turn down the opportunity. So I can see it happening. Moving. I'll ask you what you think would happen first, Elliot. Can you see anything other than the Dubois KO victory? What are your thoughts?
I could see if you said to me Wardley caught Dubois and it was over, I could see that as well. I really could. Like, we've seen he carries a lot of power, and I do think he'd be game. Although I do, like, my head sort of says that Dubois would have a bit too much for him at this stage. A bit more, he's been in with better opposition, seems a bit more seasoned. But Wardley's a bit of a wild card, so I could see that. I'd put it this way: I don't see it going beyond the middle of the. I don't see it going beyond 6 rounds. I really don't. I don't think Dubois would keep it at range either in box like that. I think he'd. I think if he would hit him, to honest, I think he'd catch him, to honest, and hurt him. I think he'd stop it in the first half of the fight. But yeah, it'd be a very entertaining fight while it lasted.
Yeah, could definitely happen. All right, gonna discuss one more name with you, Elliot. Joseph Parker.
Oh, don't mention
Um,
Joey. Yeah, go
Andy Andy Lee Andy Lee, Joseph Parker's trainer, came out
on.
on X a couple of days ago saying Joseph Parker is ready, insinuating Joseph Parker would be ready to step in February 22nd and fight Daniel Dubois. Joseph Parker, of course, former WBO world champion, has lost to Anthony Joshua, has lost to Dillian White, but in the last 12 months has beaten Zhilei Zhang and Deontay Wilder as well. Thoughts on this one, Elliot?
You know what? He deserves it. He does deserve it. He really does deserve the chance. And I was sitting there thinking, those last two victories, if you look back at those last two victories, you could arguably say that in the last sort of 5 years, he might have the second best heavyweight made behind Usyk. I just think I think he deserves it, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, I actually also think, arguably for Daniel Dubois, it actually would carry less risk in my mind. It really would, because Parker's not a big puncher. Like, Fabio Wardley could come in and catch him. I think with Parker, you're looking at him going, well, Parker try and frustrate him. I don't think he'd stop him. So it might be like, tactically a bit different. But I do think actually out of the two fights, it carries less danger for Daniel Dubois, frankly, than it would against Fabio Wardley. So I could see that happening. And I also wouldn't mind seeing it happen, to be honest with you, because I think Joseph Parker does deserve a title shot next, to be honest. He just deserves it, doesn't he, really? At the same time, he deserves to have a chance on 2 time. Come through Zhang. I thought Zhang would flatten him. Come through Wilder. I thought Wilder would flatten him. And he's come through both of them. But I do think this would be the end of the road. I do think it'd be the end of the road if these two fought next for Joseph Parker.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think you summed up well when you said about Joseph Parker deserving this title shot. I just think also Parker, like, he's obviously had two kind of big wins, the second of which was in March. Here we are at the kind of the end of October, so when we record this video, and you just kind of think it's typical boxing when someone has their best 2 wins of their career and then they're just kind of rewarded with silence for kind of for an ongoing period. So
He looked a bit on that recent DAZN broadcast where he looked a bit big, Parker. I thought, when Andy Lee's saying he's ready, when I looked at him, and he didn't look ready. When I saw him, it looked like he needed a fairly strong training camp.
yeah, yeah. Look, we'll see. I think this February 22nd date, look, it's still a while away, but you got to think how quickly things need to move and things need to happen in order for a
Yeah.
fight to get made for that date, really. One final question I've got for you, Elliot. Who do you want? Who do you think it's going to be? We've said Dubois, we've said Joseph Parker, we've said Wardley. Maybe this Joshua situation will turn around in a week or so and it will be Joshua. Maybe it will kind of be someone else. Zhilei Zhang is a name who is another Queensbury heavyweight. Queensbury have a lot of good heavyweights. What's your gut feeling telling you who will Daniel Dubois be fighting next?
My gut feeling says Joe Parker. It really does. The reason it says that, like, I know Frank's obviously, he's got all these heavyweights signed up, but I don't necessarily think he'd want to put Wardley in. I think either those that fight Wardley Dubois will take some sort of will put some miles on the clock for either fighter, because it's going to be a stoppage victory. Zhang, would you want to put Zhang in with Dubois? No. Imagine if he ices Dubois, then you're looking at there's maybe a big rebuild coming there as well. Parker, I think, doesn't present the KO risk. It'd be a nice fight. People would like it in boxing and outside of boxing. And I still feel Daniel Dubois would win. So for me, that's the fight. I don't think Anthony Joshua is going to fight Daniel Dubois again. I don't think he should either. So for me, yeah, I think Joe Parker might make Joe Parker favourite.
Cool. We'll leave it there. All right, we'll see what happens. It's an ongoing story. Elliot, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Thank you very much. As always, guys, thank you for watching.